And good afternoon to those of you in Canada, United States, and in South America. Early good morning to those in Australia, New Zealand. I believe we have some folks over in the Middle East, so a very early morning. My name is Michael Haynes, business growth specialist for small and medium B2B professional service firms. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Breaking Thru in B2B. Breaking Thru in B2B is a live stream show dedicated to us, those small and medium leaders of B2B professional service firms. And it's my great pleasure today to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the awesome Larry Levine. Larry, how are you? I'm so happy and thrilled to have you on our show.
It's a thrill to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and thank you for hosting me, and thank you for putting this all together. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. So for those of you who for those that may not be familiar, Larry, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Oh boy, where do I start? I'm a sales geek at heart. I took all my 30 plus years of selling office technology in Los Angeles. I wrapped it all together to create what I call a movement here at Selling from the Heart. 7.5 years ago, we started the Selling from the Heart podcast, which turned into my first book, Selling from the Heart, which turned into a business, which turned into a movement where you have people waving the flag all over the place. And then pretty soon, when I say pretty soon, August 13th, I'll be releasing my second book, Selling in a Post-Trust World. But I'm on a mission to give back as much as I can to the sales world that was so good to me.
That's fantastic. And Larry, I really do want to, the focus of this discussion is really going to be around talking about the brilliance of your great book, Selling in a Post-Trust World. It's absolutely fantastic. And Larry, as I've shown you, and as one of my friends cringe, the back is covered.
You got to, hey, back up, time out. You got to hold that up again. I got to see that. That is beautiful. Okay. I love when I see a book. I love when I see a book like that, because I do that to books as well.
Yeah.
See, there we go.
It's absolutely brilliant, folks. And Larry, as I said to you, why I love this book, while it wasn't your intention to be writing it specifically for those of us in the world of B2B professional services, everything you talk about is so applicable to what's happening in the world of professional services, in which the buyers of our services, so those of you who are selling accounting services, technology services, legal services, consulting services, our clients, our prospects, the number one thing that they're looking for is expertise and depth of expertise. That's the key to building trust, building relationships. However, those are things you talk about. But what is unique with professional services is that it's very much changed from how issues are solved and how priorities are addressed to whom can help you solve and meet those priorities and objectives, which are things that you so unpack in this book, which is, one of the many reasons why I think it's so great. So to kind of kick things off delving into the book and your brilliance, one of the key things you talk about in the book is a proximity principle. Can you unpack that a little bit for our listeners listening live and on the recording, a bit about that whole proximity principle, what that entails, and why it's so important?
Absolutely. And I believe before I get there, I just want to go back to what you were saying is it doesn't matter if you're in professional services, accounting, information technology, you're selling software as a service, you're selling food, you're selling copiers. It doesn't matter. I believe what you'll learn in Selling in a Post-Trust World applies to your professional life. Insert whatever you all sell. It also involves integrating this into your personal life. I'll explain this probably as time goes on, Michael. But one of the things that's near and dear to me is this whole concept of proximity is power. And it's not something that I developed. I have to just give a special shout out to a near and dear friend of mine who's been coaching me along the way. He's become a massive, very, very close friend of mine. That's Dave Sanderson. And Dave Sanders has been coaching me along. He learned this from the likes of Tony Robbins as he was on his security team for Tony Robbins. And he was coached through this through the lens of Tony Robbins as well. The whole point behind proximity to power, regardless of what you're selling or who you're selling to, is I want you to think about who you're surrounding yourself with and who you're associating yourself with. And one of the things that I learned from Dave was this: you got to find the people in your life, either personally or professionally, that can get you the fast pass to the front of the line. And those could be influential people in your marketplace. Those could be people who have power in your marketplace, significant people in your marketplace. And if you can find those people and build those trust-based, authentic relationships with, and not be afraid to ask for help, they can fast track you. And as it was told to me through Dave Sanderson's business mentor, he goes, you got to find these people. You have to search these people out and get to know them. And then once you get to know them, with one email, one phone call, one social touch, they can get you to the front of the line faster and with trust than doing it on your own. And that's the whole concept behind proximity to power is it. And I'll share one more. It really plays out on this is here at Selling from the Heart. We firmly believe this in how we've grown Selling from the Heart. So what I mean to proximity to power is we find the conferences and the trade associations where we know key decision makers hang out at. Yeah. And we make the investment to insert ourselves into those conferences and into those associations or into those trade shows. Why? Because we know there's people there that have power. There's people there who have decision-making authority. And we want to put ourselves close to those people and find out who they are.
Larry, that's a fantastic. A couple comments I want to make in regard to that. One, I 100% fully agree with you that industry and professional association, I tell all of my clients, those that I'm working with, that is one of the key things. Industry and professional association of those clients you currently serve, those that you seek to serve. I work with clients around developing their go-to-market, and I tell them we have to live in the market. Yep. So we need to be immersely involved in those industry and professional associations, both in terms of opportunity to speak, to collaborate, to start meeting those people of influence who can give us those insights, intel, those introductions. And so industry and professional associations are a great way to identify, meet, and work with some of those influential people. But when you're talking about influential people, Larry, it's also people within your own professional network, connecting with the right people within your network, reaching out to them, connecting with them. It so can expedite. Larry, I just experienced that earlier this year with a project that I was working with another consulting firm. The MD of that firm, we kind of reconnected, and he had an opportunity, went to the CEO of this company. And just by virtue of me being associated with Lincoln, the sales process was very short and very painless. 2 Zoom calls. Larry, 1 Zoom call to have the meet and greet, second one to discuss the program of work. And the sale, it wasn't even a sale. The CEO's response was like, right, Michael, great. Get on a plane, come out, meet the team. Let's get this happening. Because by virtue of association, well, I was introduced to him by Lincoln, and so, well, you must be good. A speaking opportunity, which has come up for next year. Another example of getting into a keynote in a professional association. By virtue of my speaking coach recommending, it was like, right, Michael, what do you want to do at our conference next year? Do you want to do a keynote? You want to do a roundtable? So influential people are quite important, but those influential people can easily and often sit right within your own network that you want to leverage and tapping into. So
no, 100%. I totally agree with this. And this is what I want, people who are watching or people who may watch later to really hone in on. You control all of this. You absolutely do. It's your mindset on how you take this and then you do something with it.
Yes.
And I just really believe this, and I've been known I just speak what I feel. Yeah. And a lot of people out there are making this way harder than it is. It's going to require some intentionality behind all of this. But if you can intentionally and double down on this, make a disciplined habit, turn this into a disciplined habit, find out these people, search them out. They're readily available. You will be surprised how readily available influential people are in your marketplace. Your circle of influence can help you out on this. And the trajectory of Selling from the Heart over the last 3 to 4 years is all around how well we pay attention to putting ourselves in proximity to people who have power. And we pay hyper close attention to who's in our sphere of influence, who we associate to, who we connect to. I don't connect with everyone and I don't associate with everyone. I associate and connect to like-minded people who share the same values, first of all. And then I find out the most influential peoples in the marketplaces that I serve, and I want to
Yeah.
get to know those people.
Yes. Yeah. And it's about getting to know them, Larry, and also then thinking with that deliver value, serve first mindset. If you go in with that helpful mindset of how you can help them and be open with them, then that's where you can really open up to lots of opportunities. So you're 100% spot on there. Next thing topic I want to talk a little about is you talk about client communities. Client communities, I think this all kind of weaves together in terms about being immersed within your market with your clients, those that you seek to serve, you want to be collaborating with. Can you expand a bit around the notion of client communities and how that can be so impactful in helping us to sell?
Yeah, this is how I think of client communities, and I'll take y'all back. And this is where I learned this. I actually learned this in the office technology world, and I learned it just by trial and error and just doing it because I was so pro building relationships and hanging out with my clients. And I think this is where it's really critical, and I want people to key in on this just for a moment. I'm a massive believer in growing new business,
Yeah,
huge believer in growing new business, but I want to grow new business through my clients,
yeah,
not at the expense of my clients.
yeah,
And there's a reason why I'm saying this. When I was a salesperson in the office technology channel, I would bring my clients together. I would introduce them together, not keep them separate.
mm,
Even if they were competitors, I
mm,
still brought them together. I created a healthy, interactive boundaries and communities around this for one simple reason. A, I was the common thread behind all of this,
yeah,
but they got a chance to hang out with like-minded people, run ideas by. They got to know each other. They got to share their issues, their challenges. They got to learn something from each other, even if they were competitors.
yeah,
So I would bring together, say, information technology people, and I'd bring them into a room and we would just have lunch and learns, or I'd bring them on virtual calls, or I'd bring financial people together. That's what I mean, Michael, by building client communities. And this can translate out into the world today. We're all seeking connection and we're all seeking to develop communities.
yeah,
What better way not only to build trust and credibility, but have people start talking about what you do, bring them together. This is the best way. Just isolate your clients. And here's might be a good exercise in how to do this. Just take all your clients that you have, right? Maybe you just line them up. You can whiteboard this out, or you can put this on sticky notes on walls and all of that. Is just start listing out your top clients, starting at one and go all the way down the list, however you're going to define these.
yeah,
And then maybe you work with the first five. And in the
yeah,
first five, you isolate who are the 5 or 6 key
yeah,
decision makers, who are the 5 or 6 people that I know in these places that I work with. Just write them down, write their names down. And then all I would do is I would just start going on a hunt. And that hunt is to bring these people together.
yeah,
Just bring these people together over the common bond of Michael, I want you to meet Sue. Sue, I want you to meet Larry. Larry, I want you to meet Bob. And you see where I'm going with this.
yeah.
Y'all are in the same type of an industry. Y'all have some similarities, but there's one thing I know that y'all can benefit from, and that's get to know each other. And that's what I mean by building client communities. It's taking a mindset approach and marrying this with your heart and saying, you know what? If I bridged all these people together, not only can I help them grow their business, but I can help grow mine because I'm going to start learning things about these people. They're going to start learning things about themselves. The common thread is myself, right? It's not all about me, but I brought them together and they're going to remember who brought them together.
Absolutely. And that's so powerful to do. And that's something that very much clients in the world of professional services, that is something that senior leaders are very much looking for. They're looking for not just the expertise around strategies, best practices, and approaches, but they want to connect to experts. They want to connect to each other. They want to know, Larry, what are you trying? What's working? What's not working? I'm hearing your different experiences. So just bringing those folks together, and it doesn't have to be expensive and onerous. You can do it online. I've done a number of virtual online roundtables where you bring 8, 10 people together to have a discussion around what are some of the common themes, common challenges. clients are really looking for that. They're looking for that connection, that opportunity to find other like-minded people, other businesses, other leaders experiencing the same thing. So this is something that more and more clients are looking for from their providers, from their professional service providers, and it delivers tremendous value when you can connect them to their peers, to get insights, opinions, ideas, and being able to talk about what's going on. Massive, massive value, and it doesn't really require anything because you can easily do it virtually, or you can do it in person. But it's not something that takes a lot of budget, but it definitely can have massive impact for both your current clients and being relevant to them, as well as to build new business as well. So that's fantastic.
You know, and there's something really to highlight on this is you got to crawl out of your head on this, and you got to remove all the excuses of why you can't do this.
Mm.
I just know how salespeople think out there. You got to take out all the excuses on why this doesn't work. The fear, right? Oh, I can't do this. I can't introduce this person, right? They might be competitors. It doesn't really matter, people. It doesn't matter. You got to get it. You got to get way out of your head on this.
Yeah.
Is they're all searching for people like them. And you just have to move beyond. You have to really move beyond this, because this is how I believe trust and credibility are really built at rapid rates. Here's why. You're not in it. I don't mean to cast a dark shadow when I say this. You're not the only game in town. You are not the only person they're working with. They might be working with 3 or 4 people just like you.
Yeah.
And what better way to bring everyone together? You're the one who becomes remembered.
Yes.
And then they go, when you're not there, they're talking about you. They're going, man, I can't. You know what? Michael brought us together. He's doing stuff different compared to Larry. Why isn't this person doing it? And I'm a massive believer. If you can bring intentionality to the forefront with all of this, you will be remembered like none other. And you will become the benchmark de facto that they refer to.
Yeah. Being a connector is having so much value, and so many business leaders, senior execs, they're really yearning for that. Those can be the connector, and that can connect them to advice, insights, make those recommendations, make those introductions. It has massive, massive value in addition to the expertise. Being able to, directing them to like-minded people is so, so critical. So Larry, this kind of leads into, because when talking about communities, communities and what that does. To me, it's a segue into your trust formula, because I kind of see the client communities as an enabler of how some of the trust formula can be executed. Can you kind of take folks through what your trust formula is? Because I think it's really brilliant, and yet so necessary that folks recognize what are the components to be building trust, which is inherent in all industries. But I know in professional services that it's something that is integral, make or break. So can you unpack for our listeners for us a bit about your awesome trust formula?
Yeah, no, thank you. And it really goes back. This all stemmed about, I'm going to say about 3 years ago. And my podcast partner, Daryl, and I are sitting, we've been having a nice dinner with our business coach and his business mentor. And it was shortly after that, we had a deep conversation. In fact, a very pointed conversation where we got a cold glass of water thrown in our face, believe it or not. And they said, hey, listen, right? You got a feel-good brand here at Selling from the Heart. But, and here's the big but, you got to be able to look executives, key decision makers, and leaders in the eye and say, if I come on board with Selling from the Heart, what is this going to do for me? Besides that, it's just a warm, nice brand, heart, selling from the heart and all that. I don't have to explain to anybody what it is. It's selling from the heart, right? It's not selling from your wallet or selling from the table. It's selling from the heart. But they go, you got to be able to clearly articulate how this helps companies or individuals generate revenue and profit. Ultimately, what does selling from the heart create? Real quick, I said trust and credibility. Then they said, come up with how you leverage all of this, turn it into trust and credibility. And behind the scenes, Daryl and I went to work and we came up with what's a simple way to bring this to life. And 3 years ago, I didn't know I was on to my next book that's coming out on August 13th. But we came up with the trust formula. And the trust formula is simple. And this could be applied in B2B sales. This could be applied in professional services. This could even be applied in your life. And it's all around leveraging the foundation of my first book, Selling from the Heart, How Your Authentic Self Sells You. And then I break down in my new book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, four key areas around the trust formula. It's as simple as this. I'll share it and then I'll break each one down. It's how do you build authentic relationships? It's AR. Authentic relationships must be combined with meaningful value, which is MV. We call these two sides of the trust coin. They both go hand in hand. You can't do one without the other. If all you're building is a bunch of friendships and authentic relationships, you're going to be broke. Because so many people are worried about building friends and they can't bridge that gap into having really strong, healthy, assertive business conversations. Meaningful value is about bringing business substance to the forefront. So it's authentic relationships. This is who you know, and we must combine this with meaningful value. Meaningful value is what you know. I call this business substance.
Yes.
And then we call it the force multiplier. So in other words, what's jet fuel to all of this? Well, it's it's inspirational experiences. This is how you show up. And this is what I believe you're responsible for. If you're a solo entrepreneur, you're responsible for it. If you're a salesperson inside of a company, it's not your company's responsibility, sorry to say. It's yours. You're responsible for how you show up. The last part of this is disciplined habits. And disciplined habits is when you show up. And disciplined habits to me is probably the toughest thing for anybody out there to do because it requires consistency, requires self-accountability. And so forth. So when we unpack this, and I unpack it in depth in my book, is if you want to build trust and credibility, if you integrate the trust formula around building authentic relationships, combining with meaningful business value, the jet fuel on this is inspirational experiences. It's how you inspire someone to take action. And then discipline habits is how well you commit to doing all of this. When you show up, this is time management. This is energy management. This is the glue. If I remove disciplined habits out of all of this, it's hard to consistently build authentic relationships, meaningful value, and bring an inspirational experience. I package all of this together, and that's what you'll unpack if you decide to read Selling in a Post-Trust World. And I'm sticking to it, Michael Haynes.
And you should stick to it because it is 200% true. It's applicable in so many contexts, but again, I'm being very, I guess, self-centered in our world of professional services. It is so critical because you have to build authentic relationships. That meaningful value is critical because that, to me, I equate that with expertise, and it is that expertise and depth of expertise that our prospects, the leaders, the people that we're interacting with as professional service firm leaders, folks are so critical and needing. And so it all just makes total sense. And your trust formula, that's how I see a connection with communities, because communities can be a great way to build relationships, deliver value, provide great experiences. And if you have the habits, community can be a great way to really execute and act on the trust formula. So I see the two kind of going quite well together.
Here's what's interesting. I got to go back to this authentic relationships and meaningful value. The sticking point to all of this is the business substance. And I think this is where people struggle with the most, especially in highly relational type situations, is when do I cross that? When do I have to move from one area to another? And I think a lot of salespeople get caught in, I want to be liked and I want to be friends. And I'm all about it. I'm totally all about it. But at a certain point in time, if you're not making these people smarter, if you're not adding substance, you're not bringing ideas and insights, I call this business goods. If you're not bringing any of this to the relationship, you're going to have a lot of friends, and that's about it. And I really think, and this is where a lot of people struggle, you got to bring some value to the forefront. You got to understand their outcomes, their challenges. and how you can remove them. And how you can remove them is by bringing some business substance to the forefront and educate them on how they can do this.
That's fantastic. And we're completely aligned, Larry, because I talk about with my clients and in my go-to-market framework, everything has to be based around providing advice, insights, and recommendations, and your ability to provide meaningful value. And that needs to evolve as your clients evolve, because as your clients are growing, they're going to have different requirements for advice, insights, recommendations. So you've got to be able to do so. So the key to that, what you talk about in your book, is about ultimately you have to become an expert. Can you share for our listeners, those watching now, those listening the recording, some tips and approaches about how to become an expert? Because becoming an expert, in my mind, that is the key to be able to deliver meaningful value and to be able to continually doing so in an ongoing basis, so that you're continually relevant to your clients and prospects. Can you share some tips on how you develop that expertise?
Yeah, just to start it off, just to get us to laugh a little bit, you simply got to give a rip. You just got to give a rip about yourself, right? You got to get, I'm going to peel all this back, but if we just laugh about it for a second, you just simply got to care about yourself enough that you want to grow. That's why I said you just got to give a rip, which is just a polite way, right? And keeping this G-rated show. This is just a very polite way of saying you got to care about yourself enough to say, you know what? Every single morning when I wake up, I'm going to wake up with a learn-it-all mindset as opposed to a know-it-all mindset.
Okay.
And be willing to educate yourself, be willing to listen to podcasts, read books, expand your horizons. I've always said this: if you want to become an expert, you're going to have to become a bit vulnerable. And here's what I mean by this. You can sit down with your clients. And I've said this in Selling from the Heart, and I expand upon it in Selling in a Post-Trust World. You can get a PhD, you can get a doctoral from your clients if you're willing to sit down with them and ask them. Think about all the key decision makers and influencers. You can become educated just by sitting down with them and understanding their world. And the more you do this with your current clients, the more you can become that subject matter expert just by asking them questions and digging in deep. I'd be looking at, you can prioritize your clients. Here's another way of becoming an expert is you could prioritize your clients, just write them down. And then what industries are they in? Mm-hmm. And then what I would do is I'd start listening to their industry related podcasts. I'd start reading their industry trade journals. I'd be going to their associations. I'd be going to events that these people go to. I'd be consuming as much knowledge as I possibly can. I'll give you a case in point, and I'll throw this back. Selling from the Heart way. In Selling from the Heart, we've prioritized our clients into certain segments. And those are the segments that we focus in on. So then what we've done is we've learned their language. We've learned their acronyms. Yeah. We've learned what's important to them, what's not important to them. And in the span of a few short years, we become subject matter experts in how to coach and train in those industries because we flipped the switch. We listen to their podcasts. We read books that these people are reading. We read journals these people are reading. And before you know it, we're becoming experts in their field. So it just requires a little discipline, but it requires you to think a little bit different. And the things that I shared with you, it's just all about intentionality. Yep. It's all about intentionality and giving a rip. It's just thinking, man, if I can just on a daily basis become 1% better by sitting down with my clients and having them educate me, mark my word, they will. Yeah. I know this because I do this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It doesn't require a lot. So, those would be just a few things off the top of my head that you can transfer this into becoming an expert like that.
So absolutely. So it really comes down to, it's about that intentionality, trying to, learn using the various different sources to learn. When I'm working with my clients, I talk about my company's called Listen, Innovate, Grow, because listening is the first thing that you need to be doing. And you need to listen on two levels. Listening to the market, which is about going into your industry and professional associations, your business groups, listening to the podcast, reading the industry reports. And then there's listening at that customer level, that client level, that buyer level, having those discussions with some of your key clients, prospects, and even some of those that have left you, and having those meaningful discussions so you understand what are their priorities, where they're at now, where they're looking to go, what is other key challenges, what's keeping them up at night, what are those Monday morning priorities. So having the discipline to be continually listening and learning on that market, on the client level, doing that on a regular basis is how you'll get that depth of expertise to become the expert. Fantastic. Larry, this has been really, really good, really insightful. Any last words of insight, wisdom you want to share with us, share with our listeners?
Hey, thanks for the time. Great conversation. And hope those who are watching or listening or watching later grab a couple good nuggets out of this. I would leave everybody with this: is you control you. And what I mean by that is, it's not your employer's responsibility. It's not anyone else's responsibility to become better. It's yours.
Yeah.
And if you can take the foundations of the trust formula and apply it to your personal life, mark my word on this, you will see your professional life start to grow. They both go hand in hand. Your personal life, right? How you control your personal life, how you interact with friends, family members, and things like that, how you build authentic relationships and bring meaningful value has a direct impact to your professional life. And if you can take the foundation, it's just my hopes, and I'll leave you all with this. If you invest a few hours or a few days in reading and selling in a post-trust world, hold the mirror up and then just ask myself, what can I do to build better, more genuine, authentic relationships? Bring some substance to the forefront. Show up in a way that's completely different than everybody else and do it with discipline. Mark my word on this. I promise your world will change.
Fantastic. Great word to sum it up. Folks, definitely selling in a post-trust world, definitely a book you want to get. Great insights on what we need to be doing in our world of professional services. The insights around, how do we bring that trust formula to life? Proximity, client communities, listening, understanding your clients, living in the market, all the things that we need to do to build and grow successful businesses, build and grow ourselves. Definitely get a copy of this book. Larry, how can folks who want to connect with you, get more of your brilliance, how can they get in touch with you if they want to learn more about selling in a post-trust world, selling from the heart and beyond?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Quite simple. You can go to sellinginapostrustworld.com. You can find out everything you want to find out about the book. You can go to sellingfromtheheart.net. And they both intersect each other. They're both integrated. So you can find out what we're up to. We podcast every week. You can find us on YouTube. And if you want to bust out your smartphones, you can text the word trust to 21,000, and you can get all kinds of free goodies and all of that just by simply texting the word trust to 21,000, or just head over to sellinginapostrustworld.com or sellingfromtheheart.net.
Fantastic. I'll definitely make sure I have those put in the notes, the YouTube comment notes. I'll have those details put in. Well, Larry, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Breaking Thru in B2B and sharing your brilliance and insight around selling in this post-trust world. Great conversation. It's been a pleasure to have you. So, folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, look after yourselves and stay tuned for the next episode of Breaking Thru in B2B. Have a great rest of your day. Take care and bye for now.